My father was an amateur astronomer, and I can't remember when we didn't have a telescope, some kind of telescope in the house. And I'm talking, telescope on the tripod that was about 4 or 5 feet high. And he would take this telescope out and show us Mars and Jupiter and Venus and various stars. Two things were happening. I must have been about 10 or 11, my first memory of this. But the other thing that was happening is that my father is a very distant man, actually. Loving but distant. And as a child, you wonder, you don't see the loving as much as the distance because but he could be very quiet, he could go quiet. And yet these moments which required quiet were very intimate. When he showed us the stars, something so far away, I felt closer to him than I had ever felt. So there was a telescoping of distance. And then when I wrote poems about my father and his telescope, my father's telescope and Anti-Father, or A Father Out Walking on the Lawn, which are all about my relationship to my father, time enters in because when I wrote those poems now, I was an adult, I was older, I could look back on this time that I didn't quite understand as a child but paid attention to. Children can only do. You watch that moment very carefully. So I could remember it very clearly. And when I did that, I realized that time also was telescoping. That I was simultaneously the child and the adult. And I understood how this was one way for him to speak to us, to be close to us. So the intimacy that I felt as a child was really there, but now I understood why. So this telescoping of both the distance up and the distance to my father, as well as time, it all becomes Einsteinian, I guess, in that moment.